Good morning, everybody. So great to see you all, even if it's virtually. We have a beautiful Arizona rainy day, but so glad to know that we're all here together to kick off this press conference and this Arizona LGBTQ Lobby Day. My name is César Chávez. I am a state representative for Legislative District 29, also one of the co-founders of the Arizona LGBTQ Legislative Caucus, and it is my utmost honor to be able to represent our LGBTQ community here in the state legislature. And today we're going to kick off with a couple of speakers from across the state that are advocating for all LGBTQ Arizonans and ensuring that we have equity, equality, and a place that it truly is inclusive for all. We've been faced with almost a dozen pieces of legislation this session. In the past, we've had great victories against these evil authors and drafts of bills. We've been able to get the governor to veto bills. We've been able to have representatives and senators put those bills in drawers. And of course, we never want them to come out and see the light of day. Unfortunately, this year it's been different, and we've seen more attacks on our community than normal. However, we've already had many great victories, but there's a couple of words that go around here at the legislature is that nothing is dead until sine die, until that very last day when both the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House say done for the year. Now, we are looking forward at what we can do, what we can accomplish. We have literally made history. The LGBTQ community has made history this year, and in many ways, great thanks to Michael Soto and Angela Hughey for their tremendous leadership and their organizations in ensuring that this history is being made. The Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers, a Republican, and Representative Amish Shah, a Democrat, have co-sponsored a piece of legislation called the Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act. And this bill would be, at its passage, would be similar to non-discrimination ordinances like the ones that were passed in Mesa, Glendale, Scottsdale, and Tolleson in this past year in 2021. Now, this momentum is just going to continue to grow. And with the businesses that are behind us, the LGBTQ community that is behind us, and other faith leaders that are behind us, we can truly make a tremendous impact in the state of Arizona. Now, I am very honored to present our next speaker, a dear friend of mine and one of the co-founders that, as you all probably know the story by now, we were sitting at a restaurant and we started talking about the opportunities we have at the state legislature, because if there truly is an individual who knows bipartisanship and can work across the aisle, it's Representative Daniel Hernandez. So I'll kick it off to him.
Thank you, Representative Chavez. And I want to say thank you to Representative Chavez. Under his leadership, since he became the chair of the LGBTQ caucus, we've been able to continue the conversations that started 4 years ago when we formed the caucus. I have to give him much credit because he was one of the people that came up with the idea of formalizing and starting the caucus for our community. But I think what we are seeing right now at the legislature is a really interesting dynamic. It is a cognitive dissonance, where on the one hand, we have the Republican Speaker of the House, who is, it says that I need to raise my hand. Not sure why my Zoom is acting up and saying I need to raise my hand, but when we are in a position where we literally have the Speaker of the House, a Republican, who is co-sponsoring historic, nonpartisan legislation having to do with non-discrimination, yet at the same time, we are seeing more attacks than ever on the LGBTQ community. And that's where I think it shows that we are being more effective than we've ever been. The more they attack us, the stronger we've become. And I think this is something that we have to tell people about, because they don't understand when they're looking on the outside, why are these attacks happening? And these attacks are happening because we've been able to build bridges, and we've been able to show that Center for Arizona Policy, which has normally been able to come in and dictate what bills become law, is no longer going to be able to determine which bills impacting the LGBTQ community are going to be becoming law. So there's a lot of credit, I think, that has to go to the folks at Equality Arizona, at One Community, and the larger LGBTQ groups here in the state of Arizona, because by working together, we've been able to show that this is not going to merely be we came in, we killed a bunch of bad bills, and then we were done. It's we came in, we showed that this is an issue that is not partisan. We showed that by working together, by educating our colleagues, because that's, I think, one of the biggest things. A lot of the work that Representative Chávez and I have done over the last 5 years that we've been legislators together here since we started the caucus is working to educate our colleagues particularly on the right side of the aisle, to say, this is not a partisan issue. This is good for business. And it's also just good policy to make sure that everybody is able to be included. You know, we had a big win just a couple days ago, but it was an unnecessary win. It was when we put up a bill that said that you could only have male and female gender markers on state documents, which is already the policy of the state of Arizona. But it was a misguided bill that afterwards we had several people who said, well, I wish we had been able to vote no, but we were afraid of getting yelled at. So now what we're showing to people is if the speaker, who is a Republican, and the head of the entire House can vote no, then you can have a little bit of bravery. So we're showing to them, this is not a scary issue. And even if you get yelled at by a couple of people, the reality is we are going to have a larger movement that is Democratic, Republican, independents, straight, bi, lesbian, transgender, and everybody in between who will have your back and say, this is the right thing to do, and this is why we need to keep moving forward. So I'm really excited about the possibilities and the potential, but also I think having to constantly remind folks that the reason we are under attack is because we've been able to educate, we've been able to mobilize, we've been able to show that our community is one that's not going to be going away anytime soon, and that we're in a really well-positioned spot to make sure that we get this bill out of the committee, that I'm so hopeful that we'll be able to have a fair and reasonable hearing about this bill, and then hopefully move it to the floor in the next couple of weeks. So I want to thank all of the folks here today for Lobby Day. We're going to have, I think, a really great opportunity to continue these conversations over the next couple of weeks. But I really want to say thank you to all of the folks from the community who are showing up in person on Zoom and in the phone to make sure that they're communicating with lawmakers about the importance for these pieces of legislation.
Thank you so much, everyone. So hearing from Representative Chávez and Representative Hernadez is always an incredible delight and wonderful way to start the morning. Thank you both so much for being here and for all of the work that you do at the Capitol for LGBTQ equality. We'd like to now introduce Reverend Sandy Johnson from Santa Cruz Valley United Methodist Church.
Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you all being here today. I'm Reverend Sandy Johnson, and I'm with the United Methodist Church here in Arizona. I want to commend all of the leaders here today for having the courage and commitment to work together for what's right for everyone in Arizona and for all of God's children. As a mother of a transgender daughter who will graduate high school this year, and going into the workplace, I am excited for this bill that will protect her as she moves from school to workforce. HB 2802 makes real for all Arizonans some of our greatest American tenets: religious freedom, fair treatment, and freedom of opportunity. Every person in our great state should be able to earn an honest living without fear of being fired for who they are or whom they love, acquire professional services and healthcare without fear of repercussion or fear of being denied a place to live in peace. This bipartisan measure does just that. It grants equal rights to LGBTQ people in employment, housing, and public accommodations, and protects them from harmful and controversial interventions like conversion therapy. Freedom of religion is important. That's why it's protected by the First Amendment in the US Constitution and in Arizona law, and this bill preserves that. I support progress and the continued dialogue toward full acceptance and inclusion of all people. Equal rights means professing and practicing your faith freely, not stifling the freedom of others or imposing your beliefs on them. Just because a business serves a customer doesn't mean that they share or endorse any or all of that customer's beliefs. In fact, we all have different beliefs. That's what makes our country great. But that doesn't mean it's okay to discriminate against one another. Nobody should be turned away from a business simply because of who they are, and nobody should have to fear or question whether or not they will be served when they walk through the doors of a business. We all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect without exception. And this bill is simply a modern day example of the golden rule. We should treat others as we would like to be treated ourselves. I appreciate being invited to come today. Thank you so much. And it does restore hope for the possibility of a better tomorrow for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Sandy. We're so grateful that you are with us today in between Phoenix and Tucson. I hope it is dry where you are at.
You know, it is sunny here at the truck stop. So
we had raindrops in our home in Midtown Central right before we went to the press conference. So I think we've made the right decision.
I do too.
So stay safe and warm, and thank you again for being with us today.
It is my pleasure. Thank you all for the work you're doing.
Absolutely. And it is my honor and pleasure to introduce my good friend and our partners in moving equality and fairness for all Arizonans forward, the CEO of Equality Arizona, Michael Soto.
Thank you so much, Angela. I'm so happy to be here today. Good morning, everyone. As Angela said, my name is Michael Soto, and I'm the CEO of Equality Arizona. I am so humbled and happy to be here with this amazing group of courageous leaders from the LGBTQ community, the faith community, and leaders throughout our state from so many diverse communities in support of LGBTQ equality, and especially in support of the Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act. While it's clear that Arizonans and Americans overwhelmingly favor laws that protect the LGBTQ community from discrimination, we still see the impact of hyperpartisanship and the rhetoric of division today in the Arizona legislature. This year alone, more than 15 anti-LGBTQ bills were introduced in the Arizona state legislature. Arizona is leading the country, both in terms of highly partisan bills crafted to spark division among fair-minded Arizonans of all walks of life, and leading the country through groundbreaking bipartisan work to protect LGBTQ individuals and people of faith. The Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act will ensure that LGBTQ Americans have the same opportunity to live, work, and contribute to Arizona that all other Arizonans have, while also preserving religious protections for people of faith. This bill brings the LGBTQ community and communities of faith together and makes it clear that, in fact, we are one community. LGBTQ people are also people of faith, and people of faith are also connected to the LGBTQ community and are of the LGBTQ community. This brings us together in celebration of the great American tenets of religious freedom, equal treatment, and freedom of opportunity for all. This bill reflects the true spirit of bipartisanship and democracy, Arizonans coming together to create a more just and fair Arizona for all people. The coalition supporting this bill are Arizonans from all walks of life. And what makes us different, I think, is that we are excited and willing to work together based on our shared values of fairness and freedom for all people, for all Arizonans. This bill also includes a ban on conversion therapy for minors. And we do this in an exciting way through the licensing requirement with the state of Arizona for medical professionals. As someone who's worked in the LGBTQ movement and community for many years, for several decades, in fact, I can't tell you how many young lives will be saved by this change to Arizona law. I want to close by thanking everyone once again for their dedication, collaboration, partnership, and by reaffirming my commitment to working with all of our stakeholders, leaders, and everyday Arizonans to pass this historic bipartisan bill. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for doing the work with us to create a more fair and equal Arizona.
Thank you, Michael. I know I speak for all of us on this press call and also throughout the state. Really, just we're so grateful and honored for all of the great work that you and your team in Equality Arizona do. And speaking of great teams, it is now an absolute pleasure to introduce Cato Stewart from the amazing team at 1 in 10.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As Angela said, my name is Cato Stewart. My pronouns are he, him, and they, them, and I'm the Deputy Director of 1 in 10. 1 in 10 is a youth-serving organization that provides social and supportive services for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, intersex, asexual, non-binary, plus youth and young adults here in the state of Arizona, specifically in the Valley, but we have locations throughout the state. I'm proud to be here today in support of the Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act, not only to update Arizona's non-discrimination law to be inclusive of LGBTQ youth, but to ban conversion therapy among licensed healthcare professionals in Arizona. At a time when we're facing so many harmful bills, HB 2802 is quite frankly a bright spot of hope. As someone who has the honor of working every single day with our youth, I've seen firsthand the devastating physical and psychological effects that conversion therapy can have on our youth. Over the last 4 decades, considerable research has shown that conversion therapy is not only ineffective, but it's extremely harmful. Studies show that youth who are subjected to this practice are especially vulnerable. It can lead to depression, anxiety, drug use, sometimes homelessness, and suicide. As a result of these findings, every mainstream medical and mental health organization has denounced the practice and recommended instead affirmative supportive care. Believe me when I say that this bill will literally save lives, and it will help the families like the ones that myself and our staff and volunteers at 1 in 10 have the honor of working with every single day. I look forward to working with our leaders to pass this legislation on behalf of all Arizonans. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cato. We're so grateful for the work that you and 1 in 10 do on a daily basis. And now, next up, we have Michael Mazzako from the Phoenix Equality Chamber. Michael.
Thank you so much, Angela. Good morning. My name is Michael Mazzako, and I am the chair of the Greater Phoenix Equality Chamber of Commerce. I'm here both as a member of the business community and the LGBTQ Arizonan. Extending our state's non-discrimination laws is good for business of Arizona and all Arizonans. Over 94% of Fortune 500 companies have non-discrimination policies that include gender identity and/or sexual orientation. Additionally, a 2020 poll from the Nonpartisan Public Region Research Institute found that 76% of Americans favor laws that would prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and unemployment, housing, and public accommodations. But it's not enough just for companies to be inclusive. Arizonans need equal protections when they go home, when they go to lunch, when they seek medical care for themselves, when they're out on the streets. This bill is about equal protections, not special protections. Let me reiterate that. This bill is about equal protections, not special protections. I commend the sponsors and supporters of this bill. Thank you for being part of the solution to ensure Arizona is open for business to everyone. Thank you.
And thank you, Michael. We're so grateful that you're here with us today. I'd now like to hand it off to Jessyca Leach from the Southwest Center for HIV.
Thank you, Angela. It is so great to be here today. My name is Jessyca Leach. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the Executive Director of the Southwest Center for HIV and AIDS, Arizona's home for primary healthcare and wellness for the queer LGBTQIA2S+ individuals. Our mission is to provide affirming and inclusive services to promote well-being and advance health equity for diverse communities and all those seeking compassionate care, especially people of color, LGBTQIA2S+ and queer individuals, and those affected by HIV. I'm here today in support of the Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act, which would expand Arizona's non-discrimination statute to include LGBTQ Arizonans. This bill is vital to ensuring that LGBTQ people have equal access to healthcare and health services, which is of utmost importance to the people that we serve. I am also here in opposition to the discriminatory and harmful bills that have been proposed this year that would fuel inequality in our state, making it harder for all LGBTQ Arizonans and their families to live their lives with dignity and opportunity. I urge our elected leaders to do the right thing on behalf of all Arizonans including LGBTQIA2S+ people. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessyca. We're so happy that you're here with us on this rainy, beautiful day in Phoenix. And I want to hand it over to Joanna from the Tucson LGBTQ Chamber.
Thank you so much, Angela. Good morning. My name is Joanna Marroquin. My pronouns are she, her, ea, and I'm with the Tucson LGBT Chamber of Commerce, where we believe that inclusive business is good business. And I'm here in support of the Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act to extend Arizona's non-discrimination law to LGBTQ+ people and to urge the legislature to vote no on bills that are harmful to LGBTQ+ Arizonans. So to attract, we think about this, the very best people here in Arizona, companies must reach out to potential employees and as many as possible. And we know that in today's competitive work environment, finding, attracting, and even retaining talent is one of our greatest challenges. So my organization, represents a wide variety of industries where we have a lot in common actually with each other. And with so many people nationwide too. And so we know that there's a dearth of talent to fill, the various industry sector needs. And more often than not, we're competing for talent from throughout the nation, but more specifically within the Southwestern region here in the United States. So not only is extending equal treatment to include sexual orientation and gender identity the right thing to do, it's also good for business here in Arizona. And just to put it in practical terms, by denying legal protection to those who are LGBTQIA+ community, Arizona companies risk losing talent to nearby states like Nevada, California, Colorado, and New Mexico. And that they offer the guarantee of equal protections under the law. So our lack of equal treatment for all people, it's not only wrong, it's bad for economic sustainability and growth and innovation. Arizona can no longer afford to have unnecessary barriers in place that put us at a competitive disadvantage. Passing this bipartisan bill will send a message not only to LGBTQIA+ Arizonans, but to all Arizonans that Arizona is open for business to everyone. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joanna. And I love that you ended on the slogan of open for business to everyone. It is not lost on me on this beautiful rainy day in Phoenix that literally 8 years ago this week, we were in the battle against SB 1062, a very, very harmful bill that was introduced that would have cost Arizona not just top talent, but business and reputational harm, probably for decades to come. And so I'm so incredibly grateful to be with all of you remarkable leaders here today in support of a bipartisan bill known as the Equality and Fairness for All Arizonans Act. And I just want to remind folks that the principles of non-discrimination are really rooted in the core American values of fairness, equality, and opportunity for us all. If we really want to live in a state that grows by attracting the very best talent, has a strong, sustainable economy, we really do have to be open for business to everyone. And we're making a difference because of each of you stepping up, having the difficult conversations and standing with us as we move forward during this very historic period of time. We really, truly have the opportunity to pass equality and fairness for all Americans. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you for your leadership.